Now, that's a quick survey, and I hope you get at least an indication that it forms one total system. Given the foundation, a certain ethics is necessary, and given the ethics, certain politics and aesthetics is necessary. So it's not just a collection of views. Altogether, it forms a system. As I said, we do not regard philosophy, we, objectivists, as just a game. We regard it as a vital force that actually moves the world. If man survives by his mind and his ideas, well, philosophy is his basic ideas. It's the ideas that are so fundamental that they extend to everyone in a society, regardless of his profession, his socioeconomic bracket, or his education. You don't have to go to school to get philosophy. You get it from anywhere, from the comic strips, from the kids on the street, wherever. You get your ideas, your values. That's philosophy. So Ayn Rand gave a speech at West Point once called Philosophy, Who Needs It? And the answer is, you do. Now, we not only think that you need it, we think that the whole world needs it, which of course follows. We think that philosophy is the cause of history. And I'm going to give you now a little capsule history of the world. This is going to be even briefer than the history of, than the presentation of objectivism, but give you an idea why we attach so much importance to philosophy. We think that basically all of philosophy is a duel between Plato and Aristotle. Plato was basically a man who believed in mysticism and a supernatural world. In ethics, he believed you should give up your happiness in this life for the sake of service to the collective. He was in favor of a dictatorship by philosophers. We'll leave out aesthetics. So he's the exact opposite of objectivism. Aristotle was much, much closer. He had some remnants of Plato, but he was much, much closer to the objectivist viewpoint. Now, Plato had his innings in Western history in the medieval period. And during that period, if you know the living conditions, you know that the life expectancy was in the teens, that they were plagues of insanity, that the truly moral people, the saints, went out in the desert to mortify the flesh and drank laundry water, etc., etc., whatever they could do to get back at it and destroy this horrible physical body so that they could escape and go with the pure soul to heaven. In the 13th century, Aristotle, who had been lost to the West for a long, long time, he was over with the Arabs, was rediscovered by Thomas Aquinas. And his ideas were brought back by Albert the Great and Thomas Aquinas in the 13th century. Nature or existence is here, and reason is what we have to use, and you should live for fulfillment. Now, he didn't get as far as politics, but those basic ideas were a charter of man to escape the medieval period, and they led within a very short period of time. Remember, there were no TV or mass media, so you didn't have overnight changes. They led to the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. And of course, the climax of the Enlightenment was the founding of the United States. The founding fathers were Aristotelians in all of the ways that I've mentioned. They believed in nature, reason, pursuit of happiness. They didn't say the pursuit of suffering or self-sacrifice of the next world. The tragedy is that the founding fathers were also Christians, at least as far as ethics is concerned. And they tried to combine basically an Aristotelian base with a Christian Platonic ethics. They didn't really believe in God, but they were deists, and they tried to bring in an element of God. And that is a contradiction at the very root of this country. At the very basis, we had a country which was founded on reason and the individual, but with a big dose of altruism and self-sacrifice along with it. And that combination can't exist. And it then becomes a question, which way is it going to go? Because it's an unstable radioactive mixture. And the man who made the difference was Immanuel Kant. in the 1724 to 1804. His philosophy became the dominant force ever since for the last 2 centuries, and he is so mystical and so opposed to reality and so opposed to the self that he makes Plato look like an objectivist. The whole world is Kantian today. And, of course, what the Kantians had the effect of completely destroying the American politics, wiping out capitalism, wiping out the idea of self-interest, telling us reason is helpless, telling us existence is unknowable, and bringing us to the cultural anti-value, anti-liberty state that we're in right now. The only philosophy around that builds on and extends the Aristotelian heritage is objectivism. So in that sense, we regard objectivism as a revolution away from Kant and any form of religion or mysticism. We regard it as the true original basis of America, as the philosophy that the Founding Fathers were implicitly accepted, but contradicted unwittingly. And therefore, we hold that objectivism is the only hope for the future because it's the only pro-reason, pro-self, individualist philosophy. In our judgment, it's the essence of Americanism, taking away all the religious contradictions, the mystic, the pro-sacrifice element. Now, we don't believe in determinism, the idea that everything is inevitable. We do believe there is hope for the future, even given the state that we're in right now. There's no certainty about the future. There's certainty about knowledge, but since human beings have free choice, no one now can predict what the future is going to have to be. A negative outcome is certainly possible, and we're a long way down a very bad road. And that negative outcome could include civil war, economic collapse, international war, and a new dark ages. I certainly think that is possible, and possible in your lifetime, if not in mine. Because I think things have reached a very bad state. On the other hand, the positive is also possible, and there is still time for it. And that is what objectivism stands for, a new American Renaissance based on the fundamental ideas and values that made this country so great, but those ideas consistently defended philosophically with no concessions to their antitheses. That's the battle that we are fighting, and I invite you to join us. Thank you.